What's up, everybody? I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend and is ready to go on Tuesday. So this is Tuesday, July 5th, around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to do a little market analysis video. Today was an interesting day. So the SPY and the indexes traded lower. Came back off the lows, but still lower for the day. Gold and silver went up, as did the US dollar and the Japanese yen. The euro and the pound traded lower. So and oil traded much lower as well. If we look, and we'll look at all that in a second. But the reason I brought that up front is to say that today, as far as what assets got bought and what assets got sold, looked very similar to these 2 days in response to Brexit. Not in range, obviously far less range down, and the volume, although a little elevated to some of these days before Brexit. Certainly not heavy volume like those 2 Brexit days that we had back when it broke below at the 200-day moving average on the SPY. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's the same thing. I think that, but the fact that those same assets were bought and the same assets were sold, that it was the same type of day in the sense that it was a risk-off trading day, and this is probably somewhere where along the lines of continued pricing in of Brexit and the data that we already had. So I think part of the what happened with Brexit was with uncertainty. A lot of people liquidated their entire position. There was a lot of frantic trading, but then immediately we rose back up to achieve the previous territory above the 50-day moving average, and a lot of that was people buying into weakness, and also this idea that, well, along with the uncertainty, it wasn't necessarily as bleak as may have been predicted. So the initial unexpectedness kind of came out, and along with that the markets got bought up again. Along with that, though, was the end of the quarter, so there were some people who were buying into the end of the quarter the right assets, and so forth. And so I think we might have a pause and a little bit of a downslope here over the next several days, possibly going below I would say probably going below the 50-day moving average, and possibly going back down to 205, maybe further. It's hard to say, but I would expect there to be some drawback from this rather steep 4-day climb that was really a very powerful move. I think probably the most powerful 4-day move in the SPY in a year or so. Now, obviously, it's coming off of these dramatic lows, this dramatic sell-off, so it's not that impressive because we didn't reach new territory, new highs, but still powerful move back to the upside, and I think that will get faded at least somewhat, and I think there is still caution abounding here, and it'll be interesting to see where we go after this pullback, which I believe is most likely. So looking not at the SPY, but moving on to gold here. There we are. Gold. So gold continued higher on heavier volume. This has been really a powerful uptrend since Brexit. Really had consolidated for just a couple days and then continued on higher. It really, on the July 4th light trading day, because obviously U.S. markets were closed for Independence Day, It tested 1360 on gold futures and pulled back, but then it really tested again. And here in after hours trading, actually tonight, it looks like it's surpassing 1360 and may possibly make another run. And so we could be going, I think 1360 was the next point of resistance. It was a Brexit decision high, so let me just pull over the futures here. So if we look at this candle here, we had this long wick that pretty much ended at a little over 1360 on a very heavy volume, but we closed well below that, and by the time we opened the next day, we were well below that level here on the 24th, and it's really been trying to achieve that since. So on July 4th, obviously it went up and touched it 1360 and immediately sold off. Sorry, let me pull this back here on July 4th. This is an hourly chart, so this is the hourly candle. It went up and touched 1360 and immediately got sold off on fairly high volume, especially for out of a light trading day. So you can see the volume there. But you can see it building back, and it's actually above 1360 here in after hours trading. Not a whole lot of volume, so we'll see if that lasts. But really, this run in gold doesn't look like it wants to stop anytime soon. A measured move, really from the downslope here. Measured from the downslope here. So if we were to do that, we would look. Don't want to spend too much time, but obviously there's a lot further of a move to go. That would put us up at 137 on a measured move. I'm not saying it will get there in a very short amount of time, but who knows? Come August, end of August, we could very well be there. I think gold continues to go higher. I think the biggest takeaway from Brexit that we can is that monetary policy is becoming increasingly dovish from all the central banks, essentially, and it might spur a currency war, but it's really what it's going to do is devalue paper and make precious metals and other commodities more precious, so worth more. With that being said, oil took a dive today, so still in this consolidation pattern. I would not be surprised if we went lower beyond this low here. In crude oil, in WTI, I wouldn't be surprised if we went below 45. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went a little below 1095 before, in my expectation, rebounding higher. So I think this still looks like a consolidation period pattern here to me. After this kind of upswing, this is the start, obviously, since we had this really bottom of this really long move to the downside, which is why the 200-day moving average is still trending down. And so it has some work to do. It has some construction to do before we really swing to highs. But I think that will be aided by this monetary policy, even though the dollar is getting a bid right now. Even though the dollar is getting a bid, obviously the dollar is still not at the Brexit highs. I think that when Fed policy, or when the Fed statements and so forth come out over the next few months, we will see the bullishness in the dollar kind of moderate a little bit. So with that being said, it'll be interesting to see how the markets react and the indexes react. Stay tuned. God bless. Good luck. Great trading. Thanks.